gave a speech, and other people said things a lot more passionately than I did even at that meeting. But it kicked off this targeted harassment campaign against me, where they've been pretty open. They posted online that they were trying to ruin my reputation, and it was an attempt to silence me, because they thought that if they silenced me, it would silence everybody else in the community as well. And that was 2.5 years ago. And they still talk about me. They're still doing it. They're a little more careful with what they say. Because we are in litigation right now. I did file a defamation lawsuit that's still ongoing. But yeah, I ended up having to take a medical leave of absence from work. It wasn't a few posts. Some people are like, oh, it was just a few posts. No, this was shared hundreds and thousands of times in my very small community. And people I have known my entire life, everyone in the community was weighing in on this, saying I needed to be shot, purged, slapped. They were going to come find me. People I had grown up with and known my entire life were like, oh, we didn't know she was like that. Like, well, I'm not like that. Like, that's not, but it shows how social media can destroy someone's life. And, I'm still getting harassed 2.5 years later, but they ignited something in me. I had a pity party for a few days and I cried. I didn't know you could cry so much that your eyes will swell shut. And I ended up losing 50 pounds and chunks of hair, and I had to take a medical leave of absence. But what I decided to do pretty early on was fight back. And I wanted to be very careful in how I fought back and set a good example to children, because I am as an educator. And so that's what I've been navigating for 2.5 years now, just how to fight back and stand up to people like this, and get the word out nationwide, because it's not unique to me and my town. This is happening to librarians all across the United States. And I kind of wanted to speak out against it, so to make people aware of what's happening to educators and librarians across our state and the nation.
So, Amanda, I was born in Vernon Parish. So my family is in central Louisiana, so Cenla. So I completely understand kind of like almost like a small town mentality. And I know how limiting those beliefs can be. And I know someone who's going to be listening to this podcast is going through the same thing and will be encouraged to help some other people besides themselves. Can you explore how your faith has helped you fight for others whose beliefs are not like yours? Because especially in the South, faith in church and God, that is is very different. It's very different than I am currently in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. It's very different. Can you explain how you came to your faith to actually fight for something that's, you probably weren't taught, like most of us, that it was evil, and you had to grow up and go like, wait a minute, no.
Well, I was very lucky so I grew up Southern Baptist and Republican, but I was very lucky that the church and my parents were the kind of Christians that still are, love thy neighbor as thyself, help the good Samaritan, speak out for those who can't. And then as a Republican, it was always about First Amendment is key. The Constitution is key. And what I've seen now is this, it's as if some people will argue that my party and my religion have always been like this, but I see a hijacking of it by extremists. And this is not the Christianity that I was raised in, this hate and this bigotry and so I had a good pastor that spoke out against racism and said we all need to love one another. And so I'm just doing what I was raised to do. However, if you ask anyone in my community, I'm some like leftist, far left Satanist. And I'm like, but this is the way we were raised. We were all raised here like that in this town, to love thy neighbor and help each other. And God is love. And that is not how they're acting. Not everyone, but not how a large portion of these people are acting. And so I've had to grapple with that a lot. And where I grew up at was mostly white. We're still majority white, but in the book, I had to examine how the way I grew up is not how the rest of the world is in a very small town. And because I am a reader and because I do travel, and I I know that there are people from all walks of life, and that's what makes our state and our country so great, is that we are so different. But reconciling that with the extremists in the party that I grew up in and my religion, it's something I've had to really grapple with.